Hello, people. Today I have with us the Frame Arms 1/100 scale full action plastic model kit, Type 48 Model 2, Kagatsuchi Otsu Sniper RE2. A lot of name there, but that's what this guy is. So anything with the RE2 typifier is going to be a remake of an original, and this one in particular is a remake of a Kagatsuchi, which they still actually produce, and he's in a tan model. This one is a sniper variant. Normally you would come with this shield and with this weapon here, but the sniper variant does have that sniper rifle, which is in the back, and new parts, which are all these armor upgrades. You can get these armor upgrades separate, so if you have the tan one, you can pop those armor slots off and add this additional armor stacks on. Now there is a write-up on this guy. It is in Japanese here, but I did translate it a while ago. It's been a while since I read it though. If I recall correctly, these things are actually tanks of water, and that's the sacrificial armor, much like Chobam armor on the Gundam NT, but they are filled with water to vaporize things like lasers as well as solid projectiles. So it's an interesting concept. I like the idea, but it does limit their use to only once per section. As it is, this one is designed for base defense, if I recall correctly. And because it's a heavy unit, it isn't meant for too high a mobility. It's just going to sit there at a base and just stop people or other enemies from coming in. With that said, I will go ahead and show you some of what this guy comes with and some of the articulation that you can expect from this big boy. So as far as what it comes with, you do have this massive weapon here, and I have it attached to his subarm, which is a pretty cool feature. Plugs right in. You don't have to worry and fiddle with the hands, which are kind of a pain with the frame arms kits. And then you have this shield. It comes with all of these parts here, of course, but you do have the replacements, which are in the original color. In this case, it's blue. So you get these blue parts, which would be armor covers on those legs and chest parts. Significantly smaller than the parts that I have on there right now. You also get all this selection of hands, which is pretty common to the frame arm series. And you get some architect parts that weren't used. So a neck joint, some hip joints, and what was the other parts? A couple of the poly caps that weren't used, of course. You also get this massive rifle, which was counterbalancing him. I left that hand on because, like I said, it is a bit fiddly to play with. This can be removed and put on the other side if you wanted to, but this sniper rifle is really cool. Let me go ahead and stretch it out to its maximum and put this back where it belongs. All right, and then it does have two heavy-duty stands, so you can mount that, bipod. Obviously that's where you're going to hold it. It's going to plug right in there. I would recommend using the subarm for an additional support. Even though it doesn't have any holes for it, you can have it kind of just holding underneath here. It's definitely a big gun. The other feature is that massive shield. This shield is very interesting. It is a composite shield of plates that just kind of stack next to each other. So I'm assuming that if it gets damaged in any way, you can eject those. It is very simply built. And those armor plates can plug into anything with 3mm ports. So if you have something that needs some heavy armor, those are available for you to play with. and they are definitely a cool design. I really like it. There is another subarm right up here. This one just kind of holds a weapon. It's designed for this one here because it was for the original Kagatsuchi. So you're going to be able to hold that weapon very easily, but you can prop the sniper rifle on here as well. It's designed for the handhold. That's why it's so narrow here. But I had it kind of leaning on the guard right here when I had it behind there. That's why it was kind of flopped over. So he does come with a little bit of extras, but for the price, I think it's pretty reasonable. I didn't expect more out of it. I got it for pretty cheap too, so I was exceptionally happy with what it came with. So I was exceptionally happy with what it came with. All right, so let's move on to articulation. And this is going to be a really fun one because this one isn't really meant to be that articulated. It does have quite a bit, but it is limited by all these bulky armor parts. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off. And this pulls right out of there. Let's start with the head. The head is on a ball joint, but the ball joint is very limited by this very long armor piece on his head. It's actually not supposed to be how you take it off. So there's the ball joint, and here's his head. So it's on a long standoff, but it's so deep in there that his head basically rests on this armor section. So that's going to be an issue. Now, if you know anything about the Architect unit, this one is actually built upside down, where the head normally on one of these Architects would be down here. These would be the shoulders, and those would be the legs. But in this case, they flipped everything upside down and added some bulk to the bottom. So these would be his hips, actually, in a normal circumstance. But because the Architect unit doesn't really care its orientation, they did this kind of thing. It's pretty neat. You have one of the older Gundams, you're going to have the rods coming out of the body. And those go into a polycap in here. That can be rocked up and down. There isn't a lot there in terms of range of motion because of that big bulky armor, but you can slide that out just a hair and get a little bit more out of it. There isn't going to be a T-pose, but that's fine. And then that can slide back over, of course. In here, there is a double jointed elbow. So there's a rod going up to the top and a rod coming down to the bottom. And those get you actually not that much articulation, but enough. So yeah, it's an interesting section, but it is common to the frame arm series. So yeah, it's like one of the leg joints on a Mecha Musume kit, but it does afford you some backward motion, which is pretty neat. So as you see there, this would be normal articulation, then it can go all the way backwards as well, as far as your armor would let you. Then there's the subarm. So there's a polycap inside here, and that goes to this extension. This can fold down onto this section here, which is its normal undeployed state. It would actually be this way. And then you can fold it out, of course, and that will help you to support your weapon. It does have a 3mm peg here, but that peg is surrounded by these clips. So you can actually put anything that needs support in it. In this case, they actually designed this one to have room for that to slide into. And that's why this one was specifically designed for this weapon. But anything that's narrow enough, that can be supported from beneath can get inside there. You can even hold a Gundam on that. You know, certain Gundams have that on their stands. So that's his arm. For the waist, there is some articulation from the top, which is a similar articulation set to the standard Architect. His hips will move back and forth, and then you can rotate there. Of course, his armor set is blocking a lot of that motion, but it isn't too bad. For such a large kit, definitely not too bad. Alright, next is going to be the legs. And contrary to what you think, these are actually really well articulated. The problem is they're loose. These are big, heavy units, and they're held in by what are normally shoulder joints. So you're going to lose a little bit of aid there. Luckily, gravity mostly holds them once he's down, but posing them can be a bit of a problem. What I normally do, pull these guys off, arrange them the way you want to, then put them back in. Leave the feet to the last. So for the hip, of course, you get this articulation here. That's a ball joint that goes inside that socket on the unit. These can articulate all the way around, limited only by the armor, of course. The leg section here is also like the Musume build. So you get a rod that goes up that's sandwiched between two pieces, a rod that goes down. So it is a double jointed knee. But with all the armor on it, it's very limited in what you can do. Those can rotate inside their hiding place there, but with the armor, it won't really allow you too much. So they're going to be straight legs. There is a roller wheel that's going to help this guy speed to his position. If you needed to get him out of the way. So he does have that wheel. It doesn't actually rotate, but it does articulate inside this this little piece here. So yeah, it's just for style. Down here is where it gets real fun. So that's articulated on a nice peg and ball joint combo, similar to what you see in a lot of Gundams. So this one can turn, and then you can rotate this as you want. These individual feet don't articulate, so they provide a nice sturdy footing for this guy wherever he needs to go. And surprisingly, for how small that part is, it can hold a lot of weight, which is a good thing because that's a hefty guy. So yeah, that's going to be it for the articulation. I think you guys kind of get the picture of what these guys are capable of. There's a lot to it, but it's also really simple. They try to keep this one nice and stoic, you know, because it's big and bulky. I don't think it needs to move very much. I like this one a lot, but I don't think you're going to see him running around on the battlefield too often. So I'm going to go ahead and move on. You see I already rearranged everything. I'm going to go ahead and move on to a size comparison here. So first and foremost, here is our high-grade Gundam. He's definitely almost as tall, but that width and that bulk is definitely going to take the edge. And the weapon, I think that's a little bit too much for him to handle. Just a frank opinion there. And here is the Alto. Alto looking like he actually matches the colors pretty well. I like that. This one's definitely going to need some weathering, though. I really like the way the colors match. So dark blue with white. These guys could be friends. So I can actually show you some of what I was talking about on this one, because this is very similar to a standard Architect frame here. This one is standardly arranged, so those shoulders are actually where the legs are popped into on this guy. They have extensions on them, but it's essentially the same setup. So the shoulders here are his hips, and the arms plug in to a different variation of these guys here, bulked out obviously, but this part is the upper, and the head plugs in down there. Here is the frame arms girl, Architect. And Architect here is actually excited because the Kagatsuchi is going to be getting a kit very soon. And that's going to be one that I am immediately purchasing as soon as it comes out. I'm very excited for that as well, Architect. So she isn't in the frame arm series. My magical girl, for size comparison, is also very excited. If you're curious about 30-minute sister compatibility, they would be very similar in height as well. My little 124 comparison, my Bianco. Oh, look at that. His armor plate came off. Yeah, those are actually all that's holding it in place is the friction between this section and that one. I'll put that back in just a second. But you can see that guy's a lot shorter. I would definitely like to see him with that shield, though. That would be funny. And here he is compared to the likes of Alex Gundam. And you can see they're very similar in mass. You know, Gundam is going to be a little bit taller, with the exception of this aerial. But the bulk of this guy is just huge. He looks like he feels really powerful. I really like that. But I would like to see if he can hold that. That would be a really cool thing for him to have. Let's see. Big old rifle like that. I think that would be really cool. I wonder if he can hold it. Alright, and I can't show you a unit with a massive rifle without showing you the massive rifle deployed. It was difficult to get him in this position, but he is holding it with that subarm like I explained. And he is able to shoot it. It's just so big that his arm flops over whenever you move it. And the legs just don't want to cooperate. He wants to fall over front or back. So it's a good thing he has that bipod to hold him. I think if I put this on there, it might add a little bit of counterweight. But for now, that's going to be him. Let me turn him over front ways. Show you what I mean. You can see when I lift him, legs really don't want to cooperate. Let me see if I can do this on camera. Probably won't be able to. There we go. Snap that in. And get him right under here. The gun is just ridiculously heavy, so I'm going to have to thicken up the joints on these ones to be able to support it. That said, it is pretty cool. I like the way that looks. He's a big, bulky guy with a huge, bulky gun. It is funny to think that this giant gun can't be held with both arms because they're just so short. But it's really cool. So yeah, after I think I paint this one, I'm going to thicken up all those joints, make sure everything is stuck up in there so that he can actually support it. And this guy will be done. For now, I think that's it for my review. I can't say I highly recommend it, but it is something different. If you're a painter, I think this would go a lot longer away for you because you're going to be able to put every effort into it to actually make it work. I just threw this one together, so it's a snap build. It's not really good for that, honestly. I think it does need love before it can function the way it's supposed to. Thickening up joints and making sure everything's going to work in the long run is where you're going to need to be for this. So I would say that this one's for a higher ranked builder than me. Not to say that I can't paint it and fix it up, just saying that I wouldn't. Because for the most part, I take a long time before I get back to painting builds. I am still working on my Aoshima taiko drum set that I've had for like 6 months now. That's built but not painted proper. So I'm gonna get to that actually pretty soon here. and I will show you guys that when it's done. But when you just do out-of-box builds like I do mostly, you're gonna need kits that can handle that, and this isn't one of them. Some of the frame arms you can do that with, and this one I don't think it is. So it is a recommendation for me, but it's not a high-end recommendation for me. So try to get it if you are someone who can put effort into it right away. Otherwise, it'll be sitting on your shelf, and it's kind of just going to be stuck like what you see here. With that said, I will see you guys next time, or you'll see me. But more than likely, you'll see my stuff. Bye-bye.